at some point in a performance, if I don't feel like my head is out there on the block waiting for the blade to come down purposely, like I don't feel I'm doing my job. Like I have to really push things that far, whether it's in a subtle way or a big over the top way.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, Sad, Confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh. Welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. You are about to enjoy a great conversation with a fantastic actor, a first-time guest on the podcast. Mr. Vincent D'Onofrio is on the show today, talking all things Daredevil, and as much as we could cram into nearly 45 minutes, an hour, something like that. It flew by. Great conversation with a great actor coming up on today's Happy, Sad, Confused. Other things to mention before we get to the main event today. Lots of events coming up very soon. Get your tickets now. All the information is in the show notes. Let's see. April 6th, Miami. Paul Feig and I talking at the Miami Film Festival following a screening of Another Simple Favor. April 12th, come on by, Chicago folks. C2E2. I'm going to be chatting with the cast of RoboCop, Once Upon a Time, John Boyega, and a 40th anniversary reunion of The Breakfast Club. Get your tickets now. It's going to be amazing. April 14th, this one is free, so tickets are going fast. Get them while you can in New York City. Bryce Dallas Howard. She's been probably on the show at least a couple times over the years. She's always a delight. She has directed a new film called Pets. It's a sweet, adorable documentary, but we're going to talk about a great many things beyond that, her acting and directing work, of course. As always, Patreon. Patreon's your home for all things Happy, Sad, Confused, early access, bonus materials, autographed merch, all the cool fun stuff. Patreon.com/Happy, Sad, Confused. I also want to mention for fans of The Last of Us, it's coming very soon, guys. April 13th, I think, is the debut of the season premiere, second season. I've seen the first episode as of this moment. It's really good. I can't say anything else, but it's really good, as you would expect. A great show. But the reason I mention it is there is a lot coming down the pike for Last of Us fans, and I count myself as one. So if you love The Last of Us and you haven't subscribed to the podcast, now might be a good time because we have a lot of cool things coming at you very, very soon. Okay, main event. Vincent D'Onofrio. Man, Vincent D'Onofrio is, as I say in the conversation, he's an actor's actor. He's like, for those that know, they know. He has had such an eclectic, remarkable career. He's played good guys, bad guys, character roles, leading roles. He's done stage, film, television. His film debut was, of course, in Full Metal Jacket. But I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, everything from like, I don't know, Mystic Pizza to The Cell. He Oh my God, I just rewatched. I didn't even mention it to him. He was in a fantastic episode, an iconic episode of Homicide. Unbelievable series and an unbelievable episode in which he is stuck between a subway car and the train platform. Oh my God, it's on, I think I watched it on Peacock. Check it out. That's an amazing acting performance. He's the real deal. He really is. And he is, of course, Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, in Daredevil Born Again. No spoilers in this, don't worry. We don't really give anything the game away of the last couple episodes of this season, but we do tease out what's to come, some things we could potentially see in the next season, which he is currently making. He's right in the middle of it right now, and his future beyond that, where he wants to see the character pop up. Great conversation. I know he'll be back on the podcast because we really only scratched the surface of his remarkable career. Good dude, great actor. Here it is for your eyes and ears, Mr. Vincent D'Onofrio. Enjoy. All right, Vincent D'Onofrio, man. Our paths really haven't ever officially crossed, so this is really exciting for me. I'm a big fan of yours. Congratulations on everything, and thanks for the time today, man.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So,
it's nice to meet you. I've seen some of your stuff. It's nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks. I've seen a lot of your stuff, so well, there's a little bit of an imbalance. So I was saying to you before, it's kind of interesting. Usually, I'm talking to somebody a little bit removed from a character, a year, 2 years, maybe more from what they're doing. You're probably right in the thick of it. You're shooting the next season as you're promoting the last season. So are you just in that mindset right now? What's this press kind of cycle been like for you as you're living it in real time?
Well, I mean, the main gist of the press is kind of subsided now, which is good, and I can focus on the show even more. So, but yeah, we're doing like this. We're doing things here and there, But mainly it's just a lot of prep and shooting going on.
Yeah.
Charlie and I are very involved with everything, as is our producers, and we're all like a real team trying to get it right, like somehow, some way, every day is a challenge, and but we're happy that everybody in the crew from last time is back, every single person, which is awesome. I love that because we know each other so well, and yeah, I'm definitely in the middle of it. Yeah.
The response has been great. I've seen the entire season. I'm not going to spoil anything because this is going to run before the end of it. But you guys did a great job. And look, every film, television show is a miracle to get done, let alone done well, as you well know. But I'm curious, like how engaged you are, because I follow you on various social media platforms. It seems like you're somewhat engaged with like what people are saying. Is that I don't know, is that helpful for your process, or is that something fun or distracting to kind of like know in real time how people are receiving the work?
I mean, I love it that people are excited. I think some of the negative comments are funny. I like to joke around with people. I don't take it all very seriously. It's people have opinions, and some of them are actually quite good, and unless they're not, and so
Right.
and so it's I like to give people a fair shot. I don't hold back, and then occasionally I'll like stuff and comment here and there. It takes so little of my time to just glance at stuff. If I'm in a car or something like that, if I'm not reading a script, I'll glance at my Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm not that savvy with. I have a closed account on that, but Twitter is. I've been doing it for years, so I feel very comfortable with just hearting things and making little comments here and there. There's also people who've been following me for a long time, and you also get these young people. You can tell they're really young commenting, and that's always nice. And then the adults, yeah. So I give it a little of my attention, yeah.
What is your philosophy on listening to a critic, whether a quote unquote professional or just, John Q. public, and about that informing the work? Is that a dangerous road to go down for a performer?
Well, like never in my career before have I ever, until I started doing the Marvel stuff, have I ever seen so much direct engagement from fans, Um, and there's just so many venues for people to put their opinions on these days, that it's you feel like you're just bombarded with opinions. We're very lucky that we'd had a hit show on Netflix, and that all we really had to do, I don't want to make it sound easy because it was not easy, but is to make it as good or better, and it was tough, but we feel like we have accomplished that. A lot of the audience agrees, and it's a wonderful thing.
It's good when there's enough interest to spawn this kind of fervent discussion. That's a good sign that you're doing it right.
It's all very positive, and the truth is that it's all for fun anyway, fun and entertainment. So
yeah. So way back when this part first comes around for the Netflix version of this, what was your attitude when this came around? Did you see the opportunity? Did you have trepidation? What put me in your mindset back probably 10 plus years ago at this point?
When they got in touch with me to play it?
Yeah, initially.
I was kind of happy about it. Like I had a couple of close in my life that were doing Marvel stuff, and you can imagine that a villain was on my mind of some kind. I thought I've done them before. I could probably come up with something cool to do if they let me. So that was always in the back of my mind. But getting the call from Jeff Loeb, who was the producer on the Netflix show, through Lorraine Mayfield, who's a an incredible casting agent in our business for a long time, and a super talented lady. By way of her, I got this call from Jeff, and he basically said, what do you think? And I had to make sure that the hours at the time, I was married at the time, and it was important for me to be home with my kids and to see my ex and all that. So, but Jeff assured me, I had just come off along the criminal intent thing, and those years were very hard because you didn't get to see your family much and stuff. So I just said, we just talked about that, and Jeff was a very kind of straightforward dude, was very honest with me, and I liked that. And I told him that family was important to me, and this is how I would like to participate. So I said, give me a couple of days to discuss it and with my family and think about it. And I just needed some time to think about it and discuss it with them. But the time I spent in my office thinking about it, I remembered that I had comics when I was young, and I had to kind of, just sit and relax and kind of think about, I hadn't had those thoughts in a long time, or had any reason why to think about what comics, because I wasn't a collector or anything. I just had a couple ones that I really liked, And you might be too young. I don't know if they still do it, but back in the day, they had these little areas in the back of the magazine, or sometimes in the middle, in the back of the comic, or in the middle, where you could buy like little gadgets, like
sure. I got my sea monkeys. I got everything.
All that weird stuff. Yeah, X-ray glasses and stuff, and stuff like that. Invisible ink,
of course.
Yeah. So. But it, I did remember though, I had my guys were Captain America, Spider-Man, Batman, Punisher, and I had because Fisk was in Spider-Man, I had a couple of Daredevil ones too, because just that involved Wilson Fisk. Who else? And later on in life, the Swamp Thing was a big thing for me.
Sure.
But it's you get a call like that, and you're just like, okay, maybe, I should do this. I could probably come up with something good. And so I gave him a call, gave Jeff a call back, and told him that I was in and would love to read some more. They had sent me 2 scripts, neither of which my character was in, but he assured me that they would send me one that was, but he wanted me to feel the tone of Daredevil,
right, before
he wanted me to read whatever they had, so it was nice. It's a great feeling. And then after, I don't know if you've ever heard the story before though, but I remember showing up on set once. This is before I had worked at all as Kingpin, to do off camera for Charlie. He was in this office, like abandoned office space. And I'd come in, and I hadn't met him yet either. And, oh no, that's not true. We did meet at a dinner once, set up by Jeff, all of us, the whole cast. But I went and I sat behind some boxes and crates and stuff, and I had a walkie-talkie, and he had the other walkie-talkie. His character is talking to me on a walkie-talkie in the show. And so we did that scene with me off camera. Later on, we covered my side of it. But during that, I was watching him, and he was doing really well with the dialogue and stuff too, of course, because he's, Charlie's just a really good actor. And but then he did this leap that seemed effortless from the floor to like a cabinet case, and he landed up on this thing on his feet, and I was like, oh my God, like this is gonna work. I think this is gonna work, because he was in the outfit, and I got to see him like scaling furniture in this thing while he's talking to me, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is like perfect. But I was sold with Charlie from that minute on. I mean, he sold the whole show to me just by doing that.
been an amazing, journey, needless to say. I mean, this is a very unusual circumstance to play a character through all these different iterations. And I know you've said before, I mean, the beauty of this is you've been able to kind of play Wilson in slightly different tones and contexts, and
Yeah.
somehow it always works. And that must be very rewarding to you. I mean, I guess what's keeping you energized in this go round as you've come back around for this two-part season? What are you discovering about Wilson only now, all these years in?
Oh, I see. Well, that's a good question. Um, I think I'd never really put until now, until Born Again, I never really put a lot of thought into how far he wants to expand his reach of control. And this first season and now the second season, there's really a lot of thought about that from me as the actor playing him. Fisk. He's really putting everything down on red. He's really doing it. Yeah, and I don't exactly know what the movement's going to be beyond season two, but he's definitely expanding his reach. It's a new way to approach the part rather than him just, yeah, he loves New York, but he loves New York as a stepping stool.
Right. As you well know, that the nature of the business nowadays is we almost know too much, and we know about like the production issues that went on, behind the scenes, obviously, of this one. And look, you have a lot of skin in this game, and you want it to work. And I'm sure I can only imagine what it was like for you to go through this. I mean, did you and Charlie like have the sense? Were you openly discussing when you first took a crack at this new iteration that like this is off, this isn't working? Like, was this an open dialogue in those first few episodes? Like, we need to make a pivot. Was that a collective idea at the time?
Um, Between Charlie and I, yes, it was a collective idea, and we were making it known. Yeah. I have to say that the initial writers, they had a great idea. The idea was a good idea. Um, Unfortunately, I don't think it would have had a chance because we were disconnecting from the original show.
Right.
Charlie and I couldn't understand how we're supposed to portray these characters that everybody loves within the environment that they were putting us in, and why they loved them, who they love, why they love them, what makes them love them, these characters, or hate them, and so we kept on bumping against that the whole time. And we're luckily enough, we have, a boss named Kevin Feige, and he listens to everything and he watches everything. And you can talk to him like you can anybody on the crew. And he's a really, a straight up dude. He's got to be one of the, I mean, I would say as far as his position, he's completely unique to me, and in 40 something years of acting, he's completely unique to me, and in the context of the position that he's in.
Meaning
Really
creative minded first. I mean, yes, there's a bottom line, but this guy grew up with this stuff. He lives and breathes this stuff.
I mean, I don't know about first, but it's definitely something that he listens to. Like he listened very clearly, and he, did the diligence to get to the bottom of it, and it ended up the way it ended up. But yeah, we were actively talking and communicating, Charlie and I. We needed to talk to the writers constantly every day, the initial writers, and we felt like their idea was amazing, but that we were going to eventually fail if we didn't right the ship a bit.
I mean, you've spoken very fondly of Charlie. It's always great to see you guys together. You obviously click on both a personal and professional level. And I think part of the joy in this first batch of episodes is there's some stuff between you guys, but there's not a ton. And that almost makes it more powerful, I think, when you guys do connect. I guess without revealing too much, in the second batch that you're at work on, is there more for you guys to play with against each other?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, I wish I could say, but it's Yeah, I mean, by the end of the second season, you're gonna have. I guess the audience is gonna have by the end of the second season a really good idea of where the second season. After the first season, they're gonna have a really good idea of where the
Right.
second season is heading.
Right.
And there is very little initially, but very soon after, there's a lot of us. Yeah, Charlie and I. I don't know what to say.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I always hear myself during these kind of questions that I can't answer, and I'm like, God, this is so boring.
No,
Jesus.
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
One more,
Yeah.
and then I want to ask you some general career stuff because this is
Sure,
you're the
of
kind of
course.
person I could talk to for hours. But look, I know you're asked a lot about like when are we going to see Kingpin and Spider-Man and Avengers and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I guess I'm just wondering like your role in all that. Like, do you actively, again, sounds like you have Kevin's number. Do you check in and do you say like what's real, what's not? Here's what I'd love to see for what
Well,
it's worth.
I felt the urge. I have felt the urge to do that several times, but I never do. Like I would say a few times, I would say about 3 times since I've met the guy, I have had an urge to just call him and say, "Can you just tell me something?" But I never do. I never knew because he always tells us at the right time. Sometimes it's odd, but he tells us. I don't know if you know the story about Charlie and I finding out about the second season.
I don't know if I do. Go tell me.
So at D23, I believe it was. Yeah, I think Bernthal was on stage with us. I think it was me, Charlie, and Bernthal, and we're all in a row. I'm on one end, and Charlie's on the other. In the middle is Kevin and John, and he's about to the trailer. He just released the trailer, like first time D23. After that, when the trailer was over, he said, and we've greenlit the second season. And Charlie and I never heard that before. And I was on one end of the thing and the other. I tell this all the time, even in front of Kevin. We both kind of like leaned forward and looked at each other like, wow, okay, we're doing the second season.
Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?
No, we didn't know. Neither of us knew. We keep each other up to par on everything, and
Yeah.
no. So you can imagine, like I think people think that we're not telling the truth, but I literally think that if there's any more information about anything in the future, it's going to come in different ways, but not normal ways.
Right.
So
Are they
I
gonna
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
know about the movies at all. Nobody ever talks to me about the movies at all. So
I'll have literally as we tape this today, your head is probably in the weeds of actual production, but they're announcing one by one the actors in the next Avengers movie,
oh,
and
are
I'm
they?
like,
Are they?
and I'm literally like checking, like every 10 minutes they're announcing another actor. I'm like, if they mention Vincent while I'm on this call, God damn it, I'm gonna be so pissed.
If they mention me on this call, that would be great because you'd be finding out the same time I would.
Right.
I would. That'd be awesome.
But for the record, your game, Spider-Man would be amazing. Obviously, they have so
Yeah.
many connections. Like that's something that would be a fun thing to finally
Yeah, I mean,
realize.
the only thing I know is not positive. Like it's a very hard thing to do to use my character in for Marvel to use my character. It's a very hard thing to do because of ownership and stuff.
Gotcha.
I think they right now it's still I'm only usable for television series, that kind of a thing, different kinds of series, whatever it is, but not um not like even a one-off Fisk movie or anything like that. It's all caught up in rights and stuff right now.
Got it.
I don't know when that would work out or if it ever would work out at all, actually, really. But for me, it's like my job is to service a story. That's my job as an actor, and I give me a series, give me a film, and I'll do my best. Whatever it is. That's my mind is on the second season now,
Right.
and the fun we're having doing that. So
Fair enough. Okay, literally there are like 1,000 of your movies I could ask you about, so I'm gonna hit a few of them, and I know you've told all these
yeah,
stories
please.
before, but just for the record, um, okay, so for those that don't know, this man on our screen today debuted in no less than Full Metal Jacket, was directed by Stanley Kubrick. That's a hell of a way to make a film debut, and a hell of a performance and a character to bring to life.
Mm.
One specific I was just curious about that came to mind was the so-called Kubrick stare, which
Mm.
which repeats in some of his films, whether you're thinking of Nicholson in The Shining, Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange, and yes, for Pyle in Full Metal Jacket. Is that
Yeah.
something that was consciously like, I want you to kind of put your head in this position towards camera, or does that just happen by happenstance?
No, no, he's like, I remember the first time we did it, he didn't reference anything. He didn't reference like any other movie or anything like that he had done.
Right.
But I was seeing all his movies, so he didn't have to reference them. And he also knew that I'd seen all his movies, because we had plenty of conversations um, about whatever. We used to go over his house on weekends, Matthew and I, and hang out. He'd show us. He had these big projectors. He would thread the films himself and show us these movies and rethread the projector each time the reel ran out. Anyway, so he knew, and he would, I remember the first time it was when we were sitting out on benches out on the field, and I had like a cloth to cool me down over my head, and I was just sort of staring out into nowhere while he was talking about uh, Lee Harvey Oswald, the drill instructor. Yeah, and I'm like, once I got his direction to like lean down a tiny bit, to stare upwards a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I get it. Yeah. So it was basically, I just used I had already set up what we call, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this because it's kind of boring for people, but in method acting is called an effective memory, which is an event you bring up in your life and you speak the author's words through that, or you do the actions that needed to be done through that emotional event in your life. And so I would just add that to the stare, so that I had, so that my mind was going on. You could see it because you can in film, as you know, you can see an actor thinking.
Right.
So that was important for me. But yeah, basically, but nothing was spoken about it. Just, hey, do this now. And I'm like, okay, Stanley Kubrick, sure.
Do you remember the first time you saw the film? Because that is like all of Kubrick's works, it's such a piece of art. It is so meticulous. It is so singular.
Yeah.
It must have been an out-of-body experience to see yourself in that context.
Well, I've only seen it once,
Wow.
and
Wow.
and when it first came out, yeah, years
No kidding.
ago. I do have a laser disc of it that's unopened though. But I did see it once. Oh, and I have a Blu-ray with interviews on it and stuff, which is also not open. But I remember I was, at the time, I was moonlighting. I was working with firefighters and cops who were moonlighting as security for people and stuff like that. So I was very young, but I was big, and I could do a job like that. So I was hanging out with all these guys who were slightly older than me, but they knew that I was an actor, and they always, made fun of me and stuff like that. So I invited them to, when it was showing, I bought all their tickets for them, and it wasn't a premiere. There was no premiere. So I bought 6 tickets, and like 6 of us went in and watched all in a line, and we watched this movie. And I remember during I don't think I've ever told this story. During the screening, while we were watching it, during the movie, sorry, while we were watching it, that area where he's first screaming in our faces, and he's being basically introduced to all the characters in a way, when my character started to smile, one of the guys looked at me and said, "You're fucking up, dude." Like he really thought that. He really did. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, no, that's the character. He goes, "It looks just like you." I said, "Of course it looks such like it is me." And it's like, "Oh, so this is like acting? You're acting right now?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm acting." And it was so sweet in a way, because he was. And then once I told him that, he just, all of them were so proud of me.
I'm glad you told him, because by the time Pyle meets his end, he would have been really upset.
Really upset. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And and the blanket party where I'm crying and the whole thing, they just all of them, they loved it. They just couldn't believe it, because I had been, some of them had known me for a couple of years, and it took me 6 years of studying and doing plays and stuff like that to get really started getting paid for what I was doing.
Did that because of that, such an iconic performance in such an important film. Um, did casting directors understand that you obviously transformed yourself totally? Those that don't know, you gained something like 70 pounds. That was not you.
Yeah.
But did that in some ways hinder your casting, or did it help that like you were so transformed in that first role to show folks that you could transform?
Well, the press picked it up right away that I had done this thing, I didn't have a press agent or anything. I guess they had
Right.
just learned from whatever, because I
Yeah.
certainly wasn't I didn't have any actor friends. I didn't have, I had Matthew Modine. He was
Right.
but he was like a real friend. I didn't know anybody in the business or anything, other than Matthew. And, um, no, I think,
Well, here's what if you'll let me jump in, because what I think of, because I saw you, the first thing I saw you in was Adventures in Babysitting, which I think came out even
yeah,
like within that same year. And if
yeah,
you put that like AB, just the physicality, and this always
yeah,
comes up in your
people knew.
discussions. Yeah, people saw
Yeah,
like, oh, this
yeah,
guy can be this like golden god and this poor schlub, and
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of all you need to know of the range of this guy.
Yeah, and I eventually when I got back to the States after shooting, I immediately got an agent, um, and a film agent. Oh, actually, that's not true. We would take a lot of breaks because it was Stanley Kubrick. So we would take a month and a half off, you know. And so I'd go back to New York and on those times, and I didn't have to. They would have kept me there. I had a flat there the whole 13 months I was there in total. And um, I would go back, and that's one of those times I went back. I got an agent. I got Johnny Planko, who was the top agent at William Morris. I just went
Right.
in and said, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm doing this Kubrick movie anyway. He was very excited. We became friends, and he represented me for a long time. Um, so when I finished the movie and came back, I got an agent, and once they got a gist of that, that I really was a main character once the business got the gist of it, that I really was a main character in a Stanley Kubrick movie. Then I started getting offers. I got offered, I got to look at a lot of scripts, James Bond scripts and stuff like that, and I just didn't want to do any of that stuff, like I wanted to do something different. So I just sort of waited, and then Stacy Sher called me about Adventures of Babysitting. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. I could get in like a really good shape and just do that for the hell of it. And then, I did some plays and stuff, um, and then I did a movie called Signs of Life for Avenue Pictures back then, which was a really solid story about two brothers, older brother and younger brother. And then I did Mystic Pizza,
Right.
very different again, boyfriend girlfriend thing. I always had a eclectic taste when watching movies. I liked so many different kinds of music, from movies, from musicals to war films. And so it was there. I was open to anything and everything. And I was very used to doing drama, because when I was a kid, that's how I learned to act, doing drama. Play after play after play, and
Right.
scene after scene after scene. And so I was really thirsty to do like science fiction and funny stuff, goofy stuff. So yeah.
Well, if there's any consistency that I see throughout the many years you've been doing this, and it's something I really admire about you, and I think many actors do too. You're what they call, I would think, like an actor's actor. You have the respect of your peers very much. Is you'll take a bold choice, you'll make it, and you'll go for it, whether it feels it must feel like I think of something like Men in Black. I mean, which must in the moment feel like I'm out on a limb here, or is it? I don't know. Maybe it just feels
No,
so energetic and
no, it,
exciting and
no,
thrilling.
no, it feels like you're out on a limb.
Yeah.
You know
Not
you're
to,
out, you're out on the limb. You're like, I'm purposely out on the limb. It's like another metaphor would be my head is on the chopping block for
right.
sure. And I don't feel, unless I at some point in a performance, if I don't feel like my head is out there on the block waiting for the blade to come down purposely, like I don't feel I'm doing my job. Like I have to really push things that far, whether it's in a subtle way or a big over the top way. I feel like either emotionally or physically or in some form, I really have to take chances. Like, what would be the scariest emotion to play with? What would be the scariest physicality to play with? Like, what would I be? What would I have to have great guts to do? You know what I mean? And then have to conjure that guts up to actually do it, you know? So,
Day in and day out, not just one day, but for 30 days,
yeah,
keep coming back.
yeah.
On that one, I mean, I've heard the stories. Barry was on the podcast. You know, he's such a amazing character. Like he talked how like Tommy Lee up until the premiere didn't think he was in a good movie. Like Tommy Lee Jones was really
Totally.
worried. Did you
Yeah.
have did you have the same concerns, or was it again just such an exciting opportunity to get to play like that you were like whatever it ends up being, it ends up being, or
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the experience was so wonderful because I spent all my time with Rick Baker, not with Barry. You know, like I was with Rick Baker. I basically lived in Rick Baker's trailer. I mean, we were there at 3:30 a.m. every morning. He'd paint me for 6 to 9 hours, depending on what stage we were in. You know, and the appliances and all that in that time. And so I was with him. You know, I couldn't see anybody. I had these back then. The contacts were painted on, so like you couldn't really see through them and stuff. And um, yeah, I kind of knew that I kind of loved everything that was in Rick Baker's shop, you know, because I got to see everything, all the mechanical stuff. I probably got to see more stuff than any of the other cast because I was basically in his trailer or in his shop in LA almost every day, like
right?
while he was building my face and painting it and stuff like that. So I didn't really know, nor did I care. You know, I just knew that Barry was amazing because I had seen Get Shorty and he was
Right.
amazing. And I knew that Rick Baker was amazing because I knew about his work in American Werewolf and everything after that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was just kind of doing this thing, you know,
One
not sure,
another
not sure if I was going to get fired, you know.
right. Again, that means you're doing it right. Another thing I really appreciate, and I've heard a lot of conversations of yours over the years, is you talk openly about kind of like the failures, the mistakes, the mishaps, the things that don't quite pan out as learning experiences. You've talked, look, you engaged with very solidly your experience on Ed Wood and playing, Orson Welles on that.
Yeah.
The Law and Order years. You've been very open about like what started as a great opportunity turned into a
Yeah.
job, a
Yeah.
hard fucking job. Um, has that cost you anything to be so open, do you think? I mean, do you feel like,
I don't know. What do you think? I have no idea.
well, like I said, I think you are very, very well respected. I think people really know Vincent doesn't half-ass it. He's going to do it all. So,
Yeah.
I have no idea from a business perspective, like
I
studios
have
and
no, the truth is I have no idea either.
yeah,
Like I have no idea. I mean, there is something, um, I guess I don't know. I think if I've made any mistakes as far as like talking about stuff, I think it's more talking about my technique and talking about that. I've always been an actor, very interested in acting, and I've taught for like, well, it's
right.
going to be close to like 20 years now and stuff.
Yeah.
And I only teach when I have the time, which is rare, but I do teach at the Strasberg Institute and for free, and they let me give a scholarship away every year, which
Amazing.
is really nice. Yeah. And so that's sort of the way they pay me,
Right.
and I think that sometimes people want to hear about technique and stuff like that, but I also think it's kind of boring at times too. So I've tried to not talk about that so much.
Well,
But
let me
go
ask you
ahead.
one thing and you don't have to go into the weeds, but
Mm.
you do talk about the method, and I've heard you talk about that, and that's something that's been important to you. And
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like there are a lot of misconceptions and people and things people kind of take
Yeah,
on.
because I don't think it gives enough credit to guys like Daniel Day-Lewis and now Jeremy Strong. Um, Jeremy's like a brother to me. I don't know Daniel Day, but Daniel Day, he's just a genius actor. He's came up with this great way of doing things that he's really into, that he can't do it without that. He finds it to be and the things I've heard him say, it is his way of doing it. Like he
He
feels
doesn't know another way. This is how I can do the job.
yeah. Nor
That's
does
simple.
nor does he understand any other way. He understands only the way he does it.
Right.
I don't mean like in a literal way. Of course, he understands it, but the understanding of what he does for his parts is where he's really comfortable
Right.
doing it. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times. You know, in my field, like it all comes out in the end. If it's good, it's good. You know, it doesn't matter how you get there. And most actors that I've worked with that are great actors and actresses, we all are really doing the same thing, but we have different ways of doing it. You know.
Right. Right. A couple other random things I want to mention. I'm a big Aronofsky head. You got a chance to work with Darren Aronofsky.
I did. I think he's great.
What a smart guy. What a singular filmmaker. And I'm also a huge Austin Butler fan. Talk about a young man that's doing it right. Can you say a little bit of what it was like working with Darren and/or Austin on that one?
Well, I sort of just did that one only a few months ago, but I'm not sure. Nobody's really told me how much I can talk about that one or not. But it was a great experience. Liev Schreiber and I played brothers in it, and it was, believe it or not, I'd never met Liev before. We're both like New York actors. Yeah, strange. I just love the guy. He's amazing, and then Austin is amazing. He's just like, to me, he's like this young guy who's just out there, figuring it all out, getting it, only taking the best advice. Only keeping the best advice in his soul and discarding everything else. And he's really out there trying to combine techniques and finding out which one is the way he wants to do it. And he's proving himself again and again and again. I love this kid. He's awesome. And then working with him was so much fun because it was very relaxed, and even when it was tense, it was relaxed. There's a particular kind of people that Liev and I play in it, and we had to learn another language for it and stuff, and it was just wonderful. And Darren, I couldn't help but tell him at one point, he reminded me so much of Kubrick. Wow. They're from the same area, their voices are very similar, their accents were very similar. And he's very methodical, and he only says something when it's important. I love working with any kind of director. To me, directors are, when they're great, it's amazing to watch how different they all really are in their techniques. Yeah. And the best ones are just amazing to work for. And Aaron's one of those. And he, I got to say, the way he places the camera, what he does, he's not doing anything just for the sake of it. He's telling story all the time with the camera,
Right.
And then, he'd come over and leave you for a few takes, and then he'll come over and say something in your ear, or sometimes just, which I don't mind at all, just yell it across the room. Because it takes too much time because we're far apart sometimes, his video village and then the set. But I just found him a delight. Like, honestly, you trust everything he says. You trust every camera position, every note that he has. He's like one of those guys where you're just like, he's a filmmaker. Like, you can't imagine him doing anything else.
Well, I talked about you like kind of taking big swings as an actor. This is a filmmaker that he's incapable genetically of just phoning it in. Like, he's gonna pour everything into whatever he's doing, and you might love it or hate it, but it's gonna be passionate.
Yeah, no, I hope that the audiences love that film Caught Stealing as much as I loved making it. I think that would make me really happy for him, for Darren.
So having gone through this experience with this character and with Daredevil over this many years, has it opened your aperture a little bit of the kinds of films, the kinds of experiences you want? I mean, I was again looking at your feed, like I saw you like loving on the Superman trailer from James Gunn. Like, is I don't know, like, do you have a more of an openness to different kinds of filmmakers and filmmaking than you once did? Or has that always been kind of part and parcel of your philosophy, you think?
I think it's been I've always thought of things that way, but other things have changed though when it comes to the medium. Like right now, for me, it is. I don't know how other actors feel about it. For me, it's very difficult right now to figure out what a good series is and what a good series is not. Like it's hard. The way that they usually are presented to me is I get like one or two scripts and read them, and you have to say off of those whether you're going to stick with this person for a year, or these people for a year. It's very hard, but if you're lucky, you get enough good stuff put in front of you that you can make a good choice. Um,
This might also be PTSD from Law and Order. You might have you might have this kind of lingering.
yeah,
Forget a year. How about 10 years?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. But here I am. I've been playing Kingpin for 10 years,
sure.
like on it, but not like
Yeah, yeah,
consecutively. Yeah.
yeah.
But no, I think that things are changed. There's so many more venues. There's so many different types of genres, and because of what little breakthroughs we make in equality, and what little steps backward we make sometimes, there's all these opportunities to do great story that wasn't being told when I was younger too. So that's changed a lot. The other thing is, the whole idea of people of color working, people from all different nationalities and religions working more these days. It's things have changed so much, and it's great that all these actors are getting to work. But in a kind of selfish way, I what I enjoy is, like, I've seen a lot of performances in my lifetime, right? I've been on stage and had scenes with lots of people, different types of people. But I have to say, most of my career was, acting with white men and women,
Right.
you know, and 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 nowadays it's great that people of color are working, and all these new actors are coming in, and gender mixed and all this amazing stuff. And I get to experience this whole other performance that I've never seen before, but not just the individual actor's performance, but the way they bring, just like all good actors do, their whole culture, everything they have, every
Yep.
bit of their life into a part. That's stuff that I very rarely was privy to when I was younger. Like there were guys like that were like geniuses, like Gregory Hines, who was a triple threat. Like he was like one of my best friends while he was alive for a long time. Him and I were very close. So there were people of color, but it was far and few between.
Right.
And
And,
and
yeah, and it's informing not only, the quote unquote indies now, the stuff that'll pop up at film festivals, but it's seeping into, whether it's something like Echo, et cetera, like these like large
yeah,
scale,
yeah,
solid middle of the, mainstream entertainment.
yeah.
That's a change. That's huge.
I mean, you could really count on one hand how many films have been made with the leads being impaired
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
Like Alekwa Cox in Echo.
Yeah.
I mean, she was amazing in it. And the whole crew. A lot of the not the whole crew, but a lot of the crew, especially the ones that were dealing with her directly, all learned sign language for her and for them to be able to communicate better and to make the whole show. Where we had all these people that had impaired hearing, were comfortable because they could communicate better because there were people taking the time to learn how to talk to them and respond and stuff like that. A lot of has changed, but as far as like the kinds of movies that I do, I've always kind of been eclectic, always.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to end with this because I know you have to get back to work. The happy, sad, confused, profoundly random questions for you, Vincent. A little bit more rapid fire. Tell me what you think.
Nice.
Are you a dog or a cat person?
Both.
Okay.
Although I'm craving a dog right now because my girlfriend has two cats, so that's
You need the balance. Yeah.
balance. I need my own. I do get to take care of my daughter's dog.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Go ahead.
My sweetie's in the other room. I love her, love her to
Nice.
death. Yeah,
Nice.
Lucy. What do you collect, if anything?
What do I collect? I'll tell you what I wish I collect was horses. I love horses. Yeah, I wish I could someday start to do that. I don't really collect a lot. I guess I have a bit of trouble throwing things away, like during a move, so I end up bringing stuff from one place to another that I should really just get rid of. but I don't really collect.
I see
enough.
at least three guitars. That's the start of a collection right there behind you.
Yeah, those are ukes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and yeah, people will send them to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite video game of all time?
Oh my God. What was it called? Well, I mean the early Call of Duties.
Yeah.
Uh,
Back in the day, were you an arcade guy, like the Centipede, Ms. Pac-Man era?
yeah,
Or yeah.
yeah. I mean Centipede and the Alien one.
Mm-hmm. Galaga.
Um,
Yeah.
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 But I'm trying to think of one really goofy one that I loved playing with my sons when they were younger. I forget the name of them. I can't remember. But I would say the Call of Duties were the ones. Halo. We were very into Halo back in the day. And
Got it.
yeah, nowadays I don't have time to play video games. But yeah. But yeah, so it was always good. It's always good to have young boys because you don't need an excuse then. You know.
Right. Sorry, I have to bond with my children here. What am I going to do?
For sure. Yeah.
What's the wallpaper on your phone?
My 3 kids.
There you go. Last actor you were mistaken for. Does it happen?
It used to happen when I was younger. Vince Vaughn and I used to get a lot of similarities all the time. Yeah, we've signed each other's autographs and stuff.
What's the worst note a director has ever given you, Vincent?
One director asked me to, on a certain line, she wanted to control my eyes. So she told me, which could have happened if she would have went about it a different way. But she said, all I need you to do is for you to move your eyes from here to there to her, and then on the next line go to her, and then on the next line go to him, like that. And I'm like, I think I get it. I think I get what you're trying to do. So I did, my version of that. And she cut halfway through and came over and told me to do it again. Put my eyes right there. And so then I started thinking like, okay, it must be like a shot thing. Like maybe it's the specialty. So I asked if there was like specialty going on, like a specialty lens or some kind of shots they're doing with my eyes. They're like, no, it's just, regular coverage. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so that was weird. That was a little weird.
And in the spirit of happy, sad, confused, who's an actor who always makes you happy? You see them on screen, you're instantly happier.
Ethan Hawke.
Love it. Movie that makes you sad.
A movie that makes me sad. Oh my God, there's so many. Jesus.
It's your go-to for a good hard cry.
I cry about everything. I cried during Flow. Flow made me cry. I think I cried 3 times during Flow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like a 70-minute movie. That's like every 17 minutes you're crying.
Yeah.
And finally, a food that makes you confused. You don't get it. Why do people eat that?
Now, that's easy. And the people are going to flip that I don't eat it, but like I won't, like what are they called? The shell blobs on the shell. Oysters.
Oh, oysters. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I call
that's
them
not that weird. Blobs on the shell. That's in fancy restaurants. They call it blobs on the shell. Yeah. I can see that. Raw. Yeah. They're a little fishy. No,
I can't. Let's not even talk about it.
Sorry.
I can't even talk about it. Yeah. That.
End on a happy note. Dude, you're amazing in this show. Congratulations. I can't wait for folks to see the entire run of this first revitalization, whatever we call it, of Daredevil Born Again, and the next season I'm so stoked for. And as if you couldn't tell, dude, I'm such a fan. I hope we have many more conversations like this because tip of the iceberg. There's so much to talk to you about.
Anytime, man. I like your stuff. Anytime.
I appreciate you. All right. Right back at you. Thanks, buddy. See ya.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.